Kia ora everyone, my name's Zach, I love rugby, welcome back to Hakatime Rugby. Guys, I'm a little bit late with this one, I have been travelling, so a couple of the backgrounds have been a little bit different in the last few videos, but now I'm back in the studio. Good to get going with a lot more of these reviews. So, huge match in the context of Pool B, South Africa took on Scotland, both teams kicking off their World Cup campaign, and South Africa coming out on top in what in the end was a dominant performance actually. 18 points to 3. I thought a lot of the micro battles, the Springboks were just too good in certain areas, particular the set piece, very dominant at line-out time, super competitive scrums. I thought, the Springboks had the majority of the dominance, I would say, but Scotland certainly had their moments, and I think Schumann as well as Xander Fagerson can be quite happy with their overall output. They were able to win a number of scrum penalties shortly after halftime, actually, which resulted in a big sort of swing in momentum. Where the Scots really got unstuck is they weren't able to build on their territory when they were sort of getting that territory gain, that possession and momentum all in their favour. Unfortunately, they were resulting in errors at key moments, whether it be drop balls or whether it be the Springboks just coming up with huge moments in the set piece, either scrum or line out. When the Scots really needed to solidify those areas in order to continue building momentum and to score points. But let's dive a little bit deeper into this and talk about some of those micro battles. So I want to start by talking about the gain line. Because what I really saw in this game was South Africa just dominating gain line, constantly getting over that line and putting the defenders on the back foot. And that was noticeable in the first half in particular. And what's really great about the Springboks that I see now, and we've spoken a bit about this on this channel, that they very much are varying where the point of attack is coming from. Great variation now building in the Springboks team and utilizing a lot more of those attacking weapons that we know South Africa has. You guys have been talking about it for years, that you were getting a little bit frustrated with the way that it was sort of kick first, set piece based only, really forward dominated, and you want to see a lot more variation used with the great attacking weapons that are there, and we're now seeing it. The likes of Kurt Arendse getting pulled into the game with the ridiculous no-look crossfield kick from Manie Libbok, the great work from Grant Williams, who just had a fantastic break towards the end of the game, and obviously in previous games, we saw the great work of Esterhuizen as well as Canan Moodie as well there in the centres. So we're seeing a lot more variation. We're seeing a lot more attacking interjection at key areas, and we're seeing a lot more gain line dominance as a result. And it happens in a number of ways. I saw the forwards just obviously with their power running game, able to get over the gain line, put the defenders on the back foot. And I also saw some of the smaller backs just using their footwork and their pace to just find weak shoulders, get through small gaps, and then continue that momentum going forward. So gain line dominance very much owned and managed by South Africa in this one. The set piece I touched on a little bit. The scrums I thought were super competitive. The lineouts I thought South Africa dominated. And obviously a number of lineout threats with Peter Steph Toy. You've got obviously the four amazing locks, Mostert and Etzebeth, as well as RJ Snyman, who had a lot of minutes in this one after Etzebeth came off quite early. So those areas really being dominated. What we're also seeing is Malcolm Marx used a lot more effectively. I think he's better as a starter. He did get into some injury damage, obviously, with it's a couple of blood incidents and other things that he had to come off and come back on. But then you've got Bongi right there, who is able to slot in. So, just a wealth of assets at the disposal of the South Africans and, starting to hit their straps at key moments now. Ultimately, the game goes in at 6 points to 3 at halftime, and a reason for that is a number of missed kicks. Despite the dominance of the Springboks, Manie Libbok did miss a number of kicks. So we'll touch on that a little bit because there's been a huge amount of criticism about him. He can deliver some amazing performances with a no-look crossfield kick. And looking at that one, Kurt Arendse had to do a little bit of work there as well. I mean, both the vision of Manie Libbok and execution of Manie Libbok, as well as the pace of Kurt Arendse, were pivotal to that try coming off. But those are the moments of brilliance that we see, the moments that people start to question where those kicks are being missed. He did have two very difficult kicks. So there was a sideline kick conversion, as well as an angled distance penalty. Some of the top kickers would nail those, or at least certainly have a bit more consistency around those more difficult kicks. Obviously, Mandi Lebok is not quite at that level in terms of his kicking ability. It's something you can work on and build, but what happened, I think that the Springboks did really well, is make that adjustment with Faf de Klerk coming in and taking a couple of those last kicks, particularly the sideline conversion, which he got. He did miss a sideline penalty. So, but if you can get a few more of those, those options going with Faf scoring a few more points in that area, takes the heat off of Mandi Lebok, allows him to play his more natural game, and keeps the scoreboard ticking over. So I think that's a really important adjustment, and we'll see how that plays out the rest of the game. One area that I've found quite interesting in assessing the Springboks and what they will ultimately land on in terms of their final team is the centre pairing. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on how you thought Damien Dialenda and Jesse Creel went in this one. Translate to, a couple of weeks ago where we saw Esterhausen, his great ball running, that ball running threat mixed with Kanamuti's pace. Both provide different strengths and weaknesses. To my eye, one thing that Jesse Creel does really, really well is defensive organization. The role of the center in both attack and defense is all about decision making. Key decisions made at pivotal point in the attack or the defense. And Jesse Creel does that really, really well. Now, he did have that moment, the upright tackle. There's been a lot of criticism about that and calls for consistency. If you go on Twitter, you just see these, slow motion frames of individuals that were struck in the head. I mean, there is a wealth of technology available. I guess the question is, how far do we want to go with the use of that technology? Ultimately, what fans want is consistency, so I certainly understand that. But that is one example where he probably could have adjusted his tackle height a little bit better to avoid that headshot on, it was Jack Dempsey. So, anything else we want to touch on? Let's talk a little bit about Finn Russell as well. The magical, mercurial Finn Russell. Sometimes, he is just a brilliant player. So we saw a great 50-22 from him. We saw him put pressure a number of times with the 50-22. Cheslin Colby was able to stop one of them with some fantastic work there from him. He has moments of brilliance where he's able to find the cross-field pass, the no-look pass. He's able to provide some great offloads. Every now and then, however, I feel that he gets away from his attack a little bit, or he plays at too fast a pace for his teammates. Sometimes they're just not aware that the pass is coming. It leads to drop balls, and those errors were really costly from Scotland, because I just felt like they had moments of dominance. They had moments of territory advantage. They were in good positions on the field, but they just coughed the ball up with an error, sometimes from an offload or being beaten at the set piece at key moments as well from South Africa. So that's something they'll need to focus on, I think, if they're to improve results against the bigger teams. And they certainly have the opportunities to do that. We know that the clashes against Ireland are coming up for both of these teams. We know that ultimately these pools will be decided on those matches against Ireland. And, this was still billed as number 2 ranked in the world and potential contenders for the Rugby World Cup versus number 5 in the world. And we definitely got that great battle. I thought this was a great World Cup level caliber battle in terms of, it was forward dominated, it was set piece dominated, it was game management. We saw it all in this game. And I think both teams will be looking forward to the next set of games. Obviously, Scotland have improvements to make, and South Africa are underscoring their World Cup credentials. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Super cool match to watch. I'm going to drop a review on the Wales and Fiji game, because that was a super cool game as well. And a lot going on at this Rugby World Cup. I hope you guys are enjoying the rugby. I'm certainly enjoying bringing you guys these reviews. And if you like this, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.